Good evening and welcome to the election edition of the Tucson Macintosh User Group meeting for January 2023. We'd like to welcome everybody, current members, sustaining members, new members, first-time guests. Do we have anybody here who's here for the first time? I guess the answer is no. I thought we had somebody here before that I didn't recognize the name, but could be that they have bugged out. So our next meeting is on Tuesday, February 21st, 2023 at this same virtual channel and location. Same time, same bat time, same bat channel. Next month, again, we will have an Ask Me Anything session hosted by Kevin. We're going to take a look at weather apps, and I would like to solicit from you, everybody here, to let me know what your favorite weather app is, probably for your iPhone, and send me a screenshot or two, and I will put it in the presentation. And when we get to your weather app of choice, I might ask you to give me a 1 to 2 minute reasons why you like Zippy weather as opposed to just the Apple weather that comes with the machine. So I'd like to have some more. I have a few now, but it'd be nice to have some more. Okay, and we're also going to take a quick look at how to resize a photo. I had the opportunity to help a TMUG member who needed a photo that was not any bigger than X amount of megabytes to submit to a country that they wanted to try to visit. And it was being very troublesome for them. And it's something that I can do quite easily. And I hope to show how to do it in preview, how to do it in Photoshop, and how to do it in Affinity Photo, all things that I have available to me. So that's next month. We are now entering our third year of Zoom meetings. Both Zoom and in person have their advantages. Zoom meetings are nice because we don't have to travel. I don't want to say this and don't take it the wrong way, but we're all getting a little grayer, aren't we? And it's harder and harder to get us out of our easy chairs in the evening and actually like go someplace. But the in-person meetings have the advantage that we can really look into somebody's eyes and talk to them personally. We don't have any in-person meetings of any type scheduled at this time, but we hope to have something in the future where we can all get together.
We all miss the raffles too.
Right, and the table, the raffle table, and all the free stuff, the free table. Those things are advantages of the in-person meetings. We have a new feature starting this month with Chris Wesselman. He'll be doing a tip of the month on accessibility for the Mac and iOS. We are considering calling it the Accessibility Minute. We're hoping that's going to take 5 minutes, one small, concise tip that we can all remember. Last month, he did a great job on accessibility, and he scratched the surface, and we had, I don't know, a whole bunch of things. I certainly couldn't remember them all. I'm hoping that if we do one per month, it might stick for me, and maybe it'll stick for you as well. Keep your eye on the chat window for the feedback form. And Bob Dahms was right on the money. He just put it in there in the feedback form. the feedback form in the Zoom chat.
If I might add to that, Bob, this is
Go right
first
ahead,
time
Bob.
asking for feedback on a special interest item. There's a series of questions on your use of air tags we might be able to pick up on at a future meeting.
That sounds very interesting. Yes, let's do that. I would encourage everybody here to click on that link now. It'll open up in your browser of choice, and just leave it there. And at the end of the meeting, go through and answer the questions and send it off. Your answers and suggestions are a big help for us when we are trying to figure out what we're going to do for upcoming meetings.
It's telling me that the link is invalid at the moment.
Same
Okay.
here.
Yeah, I got that too.
So, Bob, you need to revisit that and put it in there again. We have a virtual raffle during our Zoom meetings. Last month's winner was Luis. Luis, are you still with us? I know you were here earlier. There he is. Congratulations. And hope you are enjoying your Apple gift card. You probably spent it all already. So the names of tonight's attendees will be collated into a numbered list and used to pick a winner. We're going to have Siri pick a winner at the end of the meeting. In fact, I think I'll have somebody else use their Siri to pick the number, and we'll see who wins this month. Also, the super raffle, you need to be here and you need to be a member, and our intrepid secretary Kurt will take down all the names and put them into the super raffle if and only if you are a current member. And our annual super raffle drawing happens in March, so 2 months from now. Is there anybody here who is a member and is not registered for the groups.io mail lists? If you fall into that category, please raise your hand. Good, then I won't go into any of that stuff. Are there any other announcements or stuff that I forgot? Then are there any for sales or wanted to buy items from the floor?
I got something I want to get rid of. I have an
Yeah, but you better see your doctor, Kevin.
Yeah, I have, let me pull it out here. Hold on a second. This is a Graytag Macbeth calibrator for monitors, printers. It no longer works on printers or cameras because they have not updated the software. They require you to buy new ones. You get third-party software, though, to use it to calibrate a display. So if anybody wants one, they have one on eBay. I think I saw it for about $600-700. But it's been sitting around here. I got it back in like, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago. And I haven't used it in ages because I have a new Spider.
Okay. Anybody interested? If you're interested, please message Kevin through the chat or send him an email.
Yeah,
And it's kevin@mac.com. Is that correct, Kevin?
that is correct.
Okay. Excellent.
Thanks, Kevin.
Okay, the program tonight consists of all the bloviating I've already done. And we're going to turn it over to Ridge for the Apple news and security update. Are you ready, Mr. Prevo?
Okay,
He says he's ready. Take it away.
Okay, here we go.
How's this?
Looks good to me.
Okay, let's see what we got. Of course, we have the software updates since last time. And Adobe did all of those, you can see at the top. And Affinity did theirs as well. And those you use Audio Hijack, that was updated. And 1Password is just updated today, by the by. And the others you can read right there. And there's more common titles. Firefox got updated 3 times for the Mac and twice for the iOS. And if you're using iMazing, this version is now okay on Apple M1 Silicon. And Office got updated as well. Quicken, Spansiv, SuperDuper, and TechTool Pro. And now we're using Zoom 5.13.5. Apple released a remote desktop software, which is now okay on the latest Ventura software. And the iPad got 16.2. And they had a firmware update for the M1 Mac Mini. And their HomePod software got updated. And this is what's in beta now. The 0.2 update to Ventura, iOS, iPad, TV OS, and Watch OS all are coming sometime. And under the topic of Apple maintenance, a number of iPhone 14 owners are having intermittent problems with their displays. The issue where the iPhone 14 Pro Max flashes green and yellow horizontal lines when the phone wakes up or restarts. And in other instances, the lines appear during a transition that includes the screen going black. It doesn't consistently appear, and it doesn't seem to arise when something is on the screen. Several people have been reportedly told by Apple that they're aware of the bug, and it's a software issue, meaning Apple won't replace your phone, but a fix is likely coming. And a senior advisor told one person that iOS 16.2.1 will be released and could have a fix in it. And another issue under maintenance is that Apple has announced that the cost of replacing out-of-warranty batteries in most Apple devices will rise by $20 to $50, effective on March 1st. And under the topic of nostalgia, Apple had a sign that they used at their first trade shows they attended, and they hung it up at Apple's headquarters. It's now up in the auction, up for auction in Maryland, and expected to bring $50,000 or more. And it's in its original weathered wood frame. And also Steve Wozniak's toolbox is also in that auction and expected to bring 10 grand. It has his name on the top and was in use during the Apple I creation. And here's what the sign looks like. And the toolbox. How about rumors? Is Apple going to release something new this week, as was online leaker said? And yes, they have released that. And also is a foldable screen version of the iPhone rumored to be available in 2025, if at all. Maybe, but not at all. How about a cheaper so-called AirPod Lite earbuds to compete at the lower end of the earbud market? How about 2023 bringing an M2 powered redesigned Mac Pro and an M2 powered Mac Mini? Well, we got the M2 powered Mac Mini, but not the M2 powered redesigned Mac Pro. And how about a 14 and 16 inch M2 Pro, M2 Max? And we've got some 14, we got updated 14 inches, 16 inch MacBook Pros today was released, or at least announced. And how are we going to see a big a really big screen MacBook Air with an M2 in it? How about a 27-inch iMac Pro this year with an M2 in it? And how about a touchscreen model to their MacBook line in 2025? So, and Apple did announce new stuff today. Their updated MacBook Pros and Mac Mini models, the new M2 Pro and M2 Max processors. And the delivery of the new models is due to start on January 24th, next week. And new stuff, you can find more out about it at Apple's website, or you could go to appleinsider.com. And they have an article there that tells you all about it, so you don't have to go hunting and pecking through Apple's website. It's appleinsider.com. And we still will have cloth or pin on Apple logos in case we ever come together again. Thanks for your attention for that part of the presentation. And now we'll look at things of our security interest. And Adobe's updates and security fixes in those 4 programs. And Google updated Chrome with critical security flaws for the Mac with 17 fixes. And Mozilla did updates in Firefox, two releases of Firefox and a release of Firefox for the iOS. And Microsoft's update of Office had security fixes. And Apple updated specifically iPad OS 16.2 with 35 security fixes in it. How about cybercrime? Now, you've been hearing about the saga of LastPass, password management system. And here's everything you need to know about it. Their security was breached in the summer, exposing customer information and encrypted password vaults to some unknown threat actor. And on December 22nd, they released an update to their LastPass community saying, we recently notified you that and on our party gained access. And that threat actor was also able to copy a backup the customer vault data from the encrypted storage container, which is stored in a proprietary binary format that contains both unencrypted data, such as website URLs, fully encrypted sensitive fields, such as website usernames, passwords, security notes, and form-filled data. That threat actor may attempt to use brute force to guess your master password and decrypt the copies of vault data that they took. They also may target customers with phishing attacks, credential stuffing, or other brute force attacks against online accounts associated with your LastPass vault. But the company has a zero-knowledge security architecture. Due to that, the access to or knowledge of a user's master password was prevented. The stolen data did not contain any master passwords, even though the stolen data included unencrypted customer account information with names, addresses, and phone numbers, but not credit card details, and encrypted customer vault data. And Adam Angst of Tidbit suggests it might be a good idea, even so, to switch to another password management solution for 2 reasons. He says it was troubling that LastPass isn't using a secret key entangled with the master password to protect against thefts like this. And secondly, the attackers might be able to exploit the stolen information to compromise LastPass's systems once again. And thanks for your attention. And of course, the overall moral of the presentation is to stay safe and watch out while you're online. So I will now stop the screen sharing.
Thank you, Reg. Appreciate all your work.
All right.
Putting that together for us. And now we're going to move on to the annual election of TMUG officers. And to do that, we're going to turn to Bob Dahms, who is not an officer, to run the election for us. Bob, I think you're up. Are you ready to go?
I'm ready. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, good. Just need one assistant. Let's see. Mark Yarnish, would you mind when it comes time to make a motion, help me identify who makes the first motion? And then there'll be a second later, but I'm looking down to make sure I cover every point on this. Okay, in accordance with the TMUG Constitution and bylaws, annual elections are held at the general meeting in January each year. Tonight, we're going to elect officers for the TMUG 2023 Board of Directors for the position of President, Vice President, Secretary, Treasurer, and Member at Large. The candidates for each position so far are President Bob Wood, Vice President Ridge Prevost, Secretary Kurt Blanchard, Treasurer Mark Jaffe, and Member at Large Roger Harmon. At this time, I will entertain nominations for any of these elected positions from the floor. Are there any nominations? If so, raise your hand. Since I see no nominations from the floor, I will accept a motion that the named candidates be accepted as the final state of nominations for 2023 and be elected by acclamation. Do I have a motion?
I so move.
Would you raise your hand so we can record that, please? Okay. Thank you. And now, do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, Mark, I'll trust your judgment on that. Looked like a couple might have raised at the same time, but thank you. All right. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand, please. Would be more convenient, please, to raise your hand. Excellent. The motion is accepted and elect the current state of candidates for the 2023 Board of Directors is now carried. I hereby declare the 2023 elections closed with the named candidates having been elected by majority vote. Thank you all, especially to our officers taking on these important roles.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate your help. I hope that in the future we have some people that will join the board of directors and help us out in the future. All right.
22 for me.
All right. So what we had scheduled for the next slot was discussing closed captioning on Zoom. But we did a little bit of that during the Ask Me Anything session. And it appears that some people can see the closed captioning, some people can't. And the people who can seem to be on iPads. If you'd raise your hand, if you see the closed caption icon at the bottom of your screen where you have all the different people. Okay, I guess we've had Susan Clement and Mark Jaffe. You were able to see that? No. Okay, it's still obviously it's still a work in progress. So we'll keep working on that. We would like to have that ready for everybody as soon as possible, because we're getting harder of hearing as we get down the line, aren't we? Okay, I think I asked.
Show up, Bob?
Go ahead.
How would that show up? On the bottom?
On the bottom where it says participants, chat, share screen, record, reactions, apps, and whiteboards, There will be another one that has the CC on there for closed captioning.
Okay, and then you select it.
Then you click on that and you start getting the closed captions. But
I
we're
thought there
not
was
doing,
some,
we're
I
not
thought there
doing
was something
something
in
right
a,
now.
I'm sorry. I thought there was something in a setting, because I know I have seen it, I just couldn't find it again.
Yes, and I was in a different Zoom meeting yesterday
Same
with the
here.
same equipment and the same settings, and I was able to get the closed captioning. So we're not sure what we are doing or not doing to make this not happen for us, but we'll keep working on it. So we're going to go on to the next slot, which is our accessibility minute with Chris Wesselman. Chris, are you ready to take center stage?
I can do that. I just was looking at the settings, by the way, for Zoom, and under accessibility in the last tab, it does have something on closed captioning. Now, beyond that, I haven't
Yeah,
done anything more with it.
Mine
So
is on. It worked yesterday in a different Zoom meeting, but it's
Okay.
not working now. And Susan Clement said that she was able to get the closed captions, and we just don't know.
I can
Okay.
tell you that
Jerry, you can see the closed captions? You're muted, Jerry. Unmute, Jerry.
Me?
There.
I've had
No,
the same experience.
Jerry from Monterey.
I
Oh,
usually,
who I-
uh,
who I've
I
already
usually-
asked
just
in
a
the
few days
feedback.
ago. Again, same equipment. Tonight I see nothing.
Okay, so it's something that we're doing or not doing on this end, and we need to figure that out. Jerry, can you change your name from Jerry from Monterey to Jerry and whatever your last name is?
Why, certainly.
Thank you very much. And lower your hand, and we're gonna move on to Chris.
okay,
Chris,
so
Go ahead.
for our first accessibility minute, I thought I would do the triple click menu. And I've already put a cheat sheet in tonight's chat. And these are different PDFs, and apologies, I'm not used to doing this. So I ended up doing it in Photoshop and did a pretty terrible job. So I needed help from Melissa's son to do this a little bit more elegantly. But what these are, and also apologies to Kevin and Melissa, because I didn't get a chance to run this by you guys, but it seemed like a good one to start out with. And basically, we don't need to really see anything because the cheat sheet shows you the individual menus. But when you go into settings,
I don't see the cheat sheet.
the first thing you're going to do is look for accessibility, and that is on the iPhone or the iPad, and that is probably the hardest thing to do. It's the third grouping under general. It's about the third or fourth or fifth item called accessibility. And once you tap on that, and that's menu 1 in the handouts, and you scroll all the way to the bottom for general, and there is an item called accessibility shortcut. And that's what you tap on. And then that was menu number 2, by the way. And what comes up is menu number 3, which shows you all the available options. And Kevin and Melissa were helping me with this last month. And the amazing thing, which I think I found out from Kevin or Melissa some months ago, if you pick more than one, instead of it just happening with the triple click, you get a menu. What a brilliant idea. And you can rearrange the order and pick whatever items you like. What you've got in menu 3 is my choices, which are Apple Watch mirroring, background sounds, color filters, which is very good if you want to shoot black and white on your iPhone, and the magnifier and the hearing aid devices, the hearing devices, and assistive touch. Now, assistive touch is a tricky one. We didn't touch on this too much last month, but that's the name of the magic home button. Why in the world they called it assistive touch, I have no idea, because in my mind, that connotes a very broad spectrum of things. not a button on the home screen, but that actually is the magic home button. And you can turn that on and off through the triple click menu. I also discovered you can use Siri and ask Siri to turn on and off assistive touch. And you might ask, well, when would I want to turn the button off? Photography, because that button will invariably get in the way when you're trying to take photos, regardless of the app you're using. Or any other time the button becomes a pain in the butt because it just sort of floats around and you'll find yourself tapping on it. And so that is our tip for this month. It is the triple click menu, and which mine shows up in the last PDF, which is the triple click menu.pdf. And let me think, anything else?
Chris, we have some people who are not seeing the PDFs in the chat.
They
So
should be.
it might be that they arrived later. And so, would you
Okay.
put them into chat again,
I will.
please?
It's halfway up the chat. It's and it has to get downloaded. And
Yeah,
so
it's at 6:58.
I'm
I
gonna
can put it
create a
in
single
again.
file for them. I'm compressing it now, so give me a minute and I'll put it up so it'll be easier to download.
Oh, thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah. And in the future, I will touch base with Kevin and Melissa because they're a little bit more versed in this than I am. But, you know, that assistive touch button is something we could talk about next time, maybe. And how that gets set up and what you can do with it. Because it, in some ways, it takes the place of the old home button. In other ways, it does a whole lot more things. And what got me going on that is, for some reason, I have trouble with the shake to undo on the iPhone. It never really worked very well for me. And so that's why I started with it. And then now I've got volume up and volume down and things that are, it's just sort of a convenient little thing. And I use it all the time to restart my phone because I run betas. So if something's going wrong with the phone, I just restart it. I think that's it. Are there any questions?
Chris,
Yes.
in Siri, let me back off. You said that I can control the assistive touch, whether it's on or off, using Siri. In order to do that, I need to know what Siri thinks is the official name of assisted touch as far as Siri is concerned.
It's called assistive touch. So you just say, hey Siri, turn on assistive touch.
Let
Okay,
me try it. Hey Siri, turn assistive touch off. Yep. That's it.
great, thank you.
Okay.
It's
Kevin
a
has
handy
put-
button, but it does get in the way sometimes. So it was an amazing tip from, I can't remember if it was Kevin or Melissa, but a terrific tip to be able to turn that off and make it go away very easily with Siri. Of course, you may look a little funny depending where you are talking to Siri, but just tell everybody, hey, I'm retired. Don't pay any attention to me.
Right, there you go.
we have a question. Is this specific to iPhone?
No,
iPhone and Mac?
iPhone and iPad. It's iOS specific.
Okay.
Yeah.
And all
I
right.
also put up the called accessibility show notes, and it's only 104K instead of the
Yeah,
30 or
yeah.
40 megabytes of the other files.
Yeah, if you
Thanks,
are
Kevin.
interested, that's the one that you want to download, is the one that Kevin just put up at 7:36 p.m.
And by the way, if you have a request for a future moment, accessibility minute, feel free to forward it. Or send it to Bob or whatever, or put something on the board and we'll
Yeah,
definitely.
you can put it on the TMUG Talk. And if you have a request for a small, short tip, not dealing with accessibility, ask for that on a TMUG Talk as well, and we might have more than 1 minute.
Good idea.
Okay. Okay, now we're going to move over to why the Contacts app is the holy grail of your Apple existence with Melissa Davis, our own star of stage, screen, and podcasts.
No pressure.
No,
pressure
hardly at all.
whatsoever. Thanks, Bob. So first of all, can everybody hear me okay? Is the
Yep.
volume loud enough? Okay.
Yes.
So should I go ahead and click share my screen? Is it ready to be shared? Let me give it a try. So tell me what you can see if somebody would, because I'm rusty at this.
I see the K on back of you and just,
You're not sharing your
screen.
Okay,
not
so I
sharing
think
the
I need
screen
to
yet.
switch. I think I need to switch my desktop. So I have desktop 1. Okay, I'm going to click share. And now you
Now
should
we
be able
see
to
contacts.
Okay, so that's my title slide. Now, are you just seeing the slide, or do you see my notes, or do you see the previews?
we see the
We
We
note.
see the previews, yes.
Okay, is that okay, or is
Sure,
going to be
why
my
not?
talking points and stuff? If I click play, I'd have to hide it, I guess. But if I advance, does it go to the next slide?
Yes, ma'am.
It says equipment,
Okay.
hardware, software used for this
Okay.
presentation.
Okay, great. And then let me just test this real quick. If I switch over to contacts, now do you see the contacts app?
We see the contacts app.
Okay, then that sounds like it's going to work. So thank you for helping me pre-flight this. Okay, so as you mentioned, Bob, this is what I'm calling this presentation, Contacts, the Holy Grail of Personal Computing. And hopefully by the time I'm done presenting this, you'll understand why I say it's the Holy Grail. There's a lot of stuff that lives in our contacts.
Melissa, can you turn off the little thumbnail section? I'm seeing that.
If you click this, you mean?
Yeah, but we still see something on the top of that.
Well, I guess if you're on an iPad, it makes a difference on a computer.
Oh, does it?
Yep.
Hmm.
Okay.
What happens if
okay,
you
it's
just
okay.
click play, Melissa?
Okay, I'm going to try that. Play. I believe it is playing, because when I go to the menu at the top, it's grayed out. If I click hide presenter display in window,
That's what we
That-
want to see.
yeah,
That took care of it.
but then I don't see my notes. Is there a way that
All
I can
right,
see
well,
my
forget
notes?
it. Go ahead.
Go ahead
Because
back to where
I'm
you
willing
were.
to do that.
Put
Go
it
back
back
to where you were, Melissa.
Okay.
Right.
Easier said than done. Okay, let's see. Oh, show presenter display in window. What if I make it smaller maybe? Or what if I put it on a different window? Would that help? What if I do that?
Just have it the way that you had it. It's okay.
Okay. All
But next time you need to practice it enough so you don't deed the notes.
right. Okay, so first I want to tell you about the equipment that I'm using, because I know in times past when we've given presentations, sometimes people are like, well, I don't have that on my device. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. This is what I've used to make the screenshots and all the things that are in this presentation. And you can see there, I'm using my MacBook Pro. It's an M1 Pro, and I'm running Monterey. I haven't bitten it yet and upgraded. I'm using an iPhone 12 mini, and I'm running iOS 16.2 on that. And I'm using an iPad 8 running iPad OS 16.2. And there's really not a whole lot in the Apple Watch other than contacts does exist on the watch and you can interact with it. It's not the best user experience, but for that, I'm using an Apple Watch SE first gen, and that's running the latest version of 9.2. And then because of the nature of what I'm going to be showing you, I've decided to I have a separate user account on my Mac, and that's what I'm logged into right now because I don't want to divulge my personal information. So here's a disclaimer that contact information displayed in this presentation is for demonstration purposes only, unless the example is a public figure. Names, addresses, phone numbers, and other details have been altered or fabricated. It is not the intention of the demonstrator to disclose private contact information. As such, a fake contact generator has been used to populate fields. All other information disclosed is presented in good faith to be publicly available for fair use. So you'll see what I mean when I start to display some of the screenshots that I've taken. I'm going to try to do my demonstrations just in the Mac app where I'm using my demo account. But if you have specific questions, I might not be able to demonstrate that if it involves using my iPad, my iPhone or my iPad, because that's got personal information on it. Okay, so the reason why I wanted to present on contacts is because I see a lot of people struggling with how to organize their contacts or even use a contact manager. Sometimes I run into people who don't even know that the contacts app is its own thing. I'll show you what I mean by that soon. The tips that I share in this presentation are from years of field experience that's helping people to fix problems when they're trying to send or receive email and something isn't working. It's usually a problem that's in their contacts app that needs to be worked out. And there's a lot of other problems that can result from having a really messy contacts list. So again, hopefully you'll see why I call it the Holy Grail. You should really treasure your contacts. It shouldn't be something that you think lightly about. There's a lot of information in there. You should really strive to get the most out of it by getting it and keeping it organized. I put this slide here because I just, I'm silly like that. And there's so many times where I've heard this story from even people my age, lots of different people from all different age groups, where they either lost their phone or they had to buy a new phone. They had to create a new Apple ID because they couldn't remember the password. In any case, the problem is that because they don't value the contacts or don't even know it's there or just don't understand how to use it or are just really baffled by all of the choices and selections, then it ends up being something that gets lost and then it causes all kinds of problems. So if you've ever gotten this message from someone on Facebook, like at least I have, where, hey, I lost my phone and can everybody like text me now? I have a new number, which is like a horrible thing to do on Facebook, first of all, but people do it because they get desperate and they want to be able to contact people again. And so not keeping up with your contacts can really, really cause a messy situation. So what do I mean by when I say, where is the contacts app? Believe it or not, there are people who just don't even know that the contacts app is its own separate thing. So if you see in this screenshot, what I observe a lot of people doing is I'll say to them, they have a problem, and I'll say, well, let's take a look at your contacts and see if we can get that fixed up for you. And so what they'll do is they'll poke there at the very bottom and they'll tap on the contacts tab, which is not, it goes into the app, but it's not the app itself. It's just a shortcut to the listing, but it's not really where you can work with and edit and see all of the fields and everything that are in the contacts app. So then the next question naturally that I get is, well, where do I find it? Where is it? And a lot of times people will have phones where they never bothered to rearrange the apps. And so you'll see a little folder, and I want to say it's called like productivity or something like that, because way back when Apple decided to ship the phones with this folder that was already pre-populated with a couple of apps so that people would learn that, hey, that's a feature. You can actually create a folder of apps. But a lot of people just didn't bother to really look in there, or they did, but they didn't understand why you would need to click on the app icon to go further. So this is what it looks like on all the different devices. So we have the app on the iPhone, iOS interface on the left. That's what the app icon looks like. You can get to it if you, let's say you have an iPhone and you've got apps and they're just all over the place and they're not really organized. The best way to do it is just to glide your finger down from the top and start typing in CONT. And as you can see in my example here, it shows you the top hit. It shows you contacts. And then that's where you can tap on it to open it and get into it. On the Mac, as you can see in the bottom, it's usually by default, it's located in the dock, and it looks like that in the icon. So these are just some examples as to how to get to it. Now, I realize a lot of you are very advanced and you're like, oh my gosh, Melissa, this is just like kindergarten stuff. But believe me, I see it a lot in my line of work. I see it a lot out in the field. So, you might fall somewhere in between here where, yes, I know what the contacts app is and I know how to get to it, to, oh, I didn't know that that field existed. So the Contacts app, it's more than just an app. It really is a hub for all the information that you need to perform computing tasks with ease. Meaning, if you look at all of the different app icons that I have on the screen, this is most like these were all the ones that I could think of off the top of my head. You know, I look at an app, oh, yep, yeah, there's an integration there. Oh, that app, there's an integration there. So the Contacts app, what you store in there really does touch on all of these other different pieces of software. Now, obviously up in the left corner, we have the mail icon. That's your email. Everybody, mostly by now knows that when you start to type in the first couple of letters to an email address, it's going to draw that information from the Contacts app and so on and so forth. I was trying to come up with a list of, I'm not going to be able to get to all these obviously, but this is just a basic smattering of all of the different types of integrations and uses, all of the different things that you can do with the Contacts app installed and set up and configured. These are all the different tasks that you could complete. And I'll come back to this later. These are some examples of how the interface looks across the different devices. So for example, on the left, this is what it looks like on the Mac OS operating system on a Macintosh. And on the right, this is what it looks like on an iPad. The icons in the center there show you what the app looks like in the different interfaces. So we have the Mac app, and then the iOS and iPad app. And then believe it or not, the next one there is iCloud, and I'm going to show you that next. And then to the right, that's what it looks like on the Apple Watch. So these are all the different platforms where you can access the Contacts app. So as you can see there, it works across Mac OS, iOS, iCloud, iPad OS, and Watch OS. Any of the edits or additions that you make in the app, when you make it on one version, it will synchronize to all the other devices linked to the provider server. So for example, maybe you're using iCloud, which that's what I'm gonna suggest, but maybe you don't want to use iCloud and you want to use Google Gmail instead. That also has its own contact server. And so if you set it up with that account on one device and then set it up the same way on the other devices, what you do in one device will synchronize across the other devices, provided that you configure it properly. And then speaking of which, these are all of the different providers that are offered on the Mac. Somebody can correct me. Like I said, I haven't upgraded to Ventura yet, and I don't know if this part changes, but I believe that it's probably going to be pretty much the same. So you can see here in this example, I've gone ahead and created demonstration accounts. So don't send me, money here to any of these email addresses that you might see, because probably won't go anywhere. But these are for demonstration, and these are all of the different providers. So each one of these, iCloud, Microsoft Exchange, Google, Yahoo, and AOL, they all provide access to their server where you can store contacts and email and a host of other things like calendars, sometimes photos, things like that. And then notice at the bottom, it says add other account. That's for something like Comcast. Like if you have Xfinity as your ISP, your internet service provider, and then you also use their free email, which personally, just based on experience, I can tell you, I really don't recommend it. I know a lot of people have it, but it's very problematic. I would stick with one of these other ones. They're just a lot more reputable and more stable. So if you're wondering why you're having so many email problems, you might want to consider going with one of these providers for your email. Now, when I set this up, I used the Microsoft Exchange because I was experimenting. If you notice on the left here, it says Microsoft. I actually used my Hotmail account, and I don't know if that was the right thing to do or not. So I'm not going to dig too much into Microsoft, but it does work and it does synchronize contacts. But there might have been, maybe I should have clicked add other account and used Hotmail instead, or not Hotmail, Outlook is what it's called now. So this slide shows you what the providers list looks like on a Mac. And this slide shows you what that same interface looks like on the left here, it looks like on an iPhone, and on the right, it looks how it looks on an iPad. So you can see the same providers, but also notice the difference here at the bottom. It does actually list Outlook.com as one of the providers, which is not something that you see on the Mac. Like I said, maybe that'll change in a future operating system if people really rely upon that. But other than that, I think you're supposed to just click other if you're going to use Comcast, for example. So those are the different providers. And then remember I said that you can also use iCloud now. So this is relatively new. You can actually log into your iCloud and manage all of these different apps, and notice that you can see contacts now. So let's see, my note here says we're going to dig into contacts. These are how you're going to customize them on the different platforms. So the reason why these notes are going to be really important is because even though the contacts that you put in there, they all synchronize, the settings that you make to each device, that doesn't synchronize. You have to set up each device and configure it individually. And you have to pay attention, and that's what I'm going to be showing you here soon. You have to pay attention how you set it up, because if you don't set it up the same way on each device, it can get messy and confusing. So this is what the interface looks like when you log into iCloud. And they also allow you to customize your iCloud interface. So for example, let's say something terrible happened and maybe your phone took a dip in the river and you don't have a replacement yet, but you want to be able to access your stuff in iCloud. You could log in, you could borrow somebody's computer, and you can log in using any browser, whether it's Safari or Firefox. You can use a browser to log into iCloud. And then they also let you customize it by adding tiles. So that's what this is demonstrating. It's also showing you that down here, there's a little cog wheel, and I'm going to be going through these settings. So this is how you configure or set up and customize how you want to interact with the contacts database. So in iCloud, you click on that little cog wheel in the left-hand corner, and then you get this general message, and you can set the order, whether that's first name or last name, or if you want it to be last name, first name, that's where you do that. And then this is what it looks like in a web browser. This is the iCloud interface. So notice in the lower left-hand corner, there's that cog wheel again. It's a gear icon. You click on it, and that's where you can get to preferences. So you'll notice that you can see you have lists, and a note on that. So the newer operating systems, the items on the left are now called lists, whereas on my version of macOS, it's referred to as groups. So you're going to hear me say the word groups or lists. Those are interchangeable. The new version, the vocabulary is lists, but in older versions, it'll be called groups. This is showing you configurations. And remember how I was just saying, you need to set up your contacts preferences, and you need to do it. I'm recommending that you do it the same on each and every device that you have. So for example, if you want to view things first name, last name, or last name, first name, you can go into the settings or preferences. And again, in the newer operating system for macOS, I think it's now referred to as settings, the same as it is on iOS and iPadOS. They're trying to bring some continuity to that finally. So that's a welcome change. So here's what the interface looks like, and you're going to want to pay attention to how this is set up and also your default account. Now, that might be something that maybe, for example, my default account on my iPad is maybe say like a personal account, but the default account on my iPhone, maybe it's my business account. So that's something that you could change. But either way, you should probably try to make sure that they're sorted the same way. So here's an example of how it's configured on my iPad. And you can see that I have multiple accounts set up. That's not something that I recommend if you don't have to do it that way. But this is just demonstrating for you that this is what's possible in the contacts preferences and how you can work with contacts. You can have multiple accounts set up for different reasons. So in this example, for my own personal use case, I have my main iCloud account that I use for pretty much everything. And notice how it shows you which of the services are turned on. So I have everything turned on for that. But then, for example, my business account, I only have mail turned on. I don't have contacts turned on. I don't have calendars turned on because I prefer to use my main iCloud account for all of that stuff. And then I have a shared Gmail account. And the reason why that's important is because my husband and I then share that account. And I have a separate Apple ID. So in place of where it says tester demo at iCloud.com, in my personal use case, it's our shared iCloud account. And what that is that's a separate Apple ID. You can have multiple Apple IDs. You have to have a primary Apple ID, but you can set up another Apple ID. And I use that only for contacts. I only have that switched on because then that's all of the contacts that my husband and I share. So he doesn't see all of my business contacts and my friends, and I don't see all of his teachers and all of his colleagues. We have a his, hers, and an ours set up. Here are some tips that I'm just going to go over quickly, and I can show you a little bit more in some demonstrations later. In mail, if you're ever having trouble with addresses, if you're saying you're trying to send something out and it's not going, it probably is because there's a typo in your contacts card that needs to be corrected somewhere. And so sometimes that can get stuck and mail thinks you want to use that, but you want to correct it. Another note is that because your contacts contain so much information, you really want to be very selective when you're going to be giving permission to other third-party apps that will access that. So be mindful of that. We'll talk about these other things later. And then here is some more configuration instructions. Again, this is in the Mac contacts preferences. That's how you get to these windows. And these are the very first thing that I advise people look at. Really take a look at these and dig into these and make sure that they're set up how you want them to be set up. The biggest thing is the template for that's the first thing that I want everybody to do is look at the template. And if you notice up here, there's tabs at the top. So you would go into your contacts app on your Mac and you're going to go to preferences, and then you're going to click the template tab at the top here. And then you can check on all of the different fields that you want. A lot of people just stick with, like over here in this corner here, it's just the standard, iPhone, home, work, or might not even have that much. And then they're limited, or they think they're limited as to how much information can actually be stored on one card. And I'm here to tell you that there's a whole lot more that you can be adding to your cards if you really want to. This is just a note on sharing. I think, Bob, you and I tried this a while ago, and I did this test I wanted to let you know about that. I think that in the newer version, if you want notes to be exported, I think it works now, because in my testing, it did work. I actually created a card and I shared it with myself, and the notes also transferred. So I think that is a new thing. Another cool thing that you can do with the Contacts app is when you populate the birthday field, it will populate your calendar for you. You can see that it'll put a little, and I'll go into the calendar app to show you this larger. Now, if I switch to this, can you see it a little bit bigger now?
No.
So notice that I have these people populated on the calendar and they show up as little presents. And if you put in their birth year, it'll tell you how old they're going to be. So for example, here's Steve Jobs, and he has since passed away. And this is just a little tip. This is what I like to do is for people who have passed away, I don't personally like to delete them. So instead, what I do is I add in the prefix, and you can choose whatever emoji means something to you. But for all of my people that are deceased, I add this little rose emoji. I show this tip to a lot of people and they really like it. So I thought you might enjoy it too. But this way you can kind of like honor that person, even though they've passed away. Every time their birthday comes up, you'll know that it's somebody who's passed. So that's a little tip for you there. And let me go back to this. So I really love this feature. I love being able to keep track of people's birthdays. It's aside from contacts, but you can go into calendars and tell calendars to alert you a week in advance or a couple of days in advance of someone's birthday so that you can send them a card. Some other things that you can do with the Contacts app is you can print out envelopes, and that's achieved by using a combination of Contacts and Pages. And I'm not going to do too much of a deep dive into it, but this is what it would look like in Pages. You can edit these fields and it will pull it from your contacts list. So real quickly, for example, I have a list rather of Apple executives that I just pulled from the website and added that. And you can now do a mail merge using Pages, and it will just populate all of the people. So that's a fun activity to do. And as I'm going through these, if there's anybody that wants like a deeper dive in them, because I'm getting short on time, I can go into that a little bit deeper.
Melissa, I just wanted to say that
Sure.
if all you're doing as far as creating an envelope, one envelope for
Mhm.
one person at one time, you can do that right in Contacts. Just Command P
That's-
for print.
That's true. That is true. So if we go to File, I've selected Albert Einstein. Well, he doesn't have an address. Let me find somebody who's got an address. So I'm going to go to my lists over here on the side, and I have an Apple list. So let's go send Tim Cook a letter, shall we? So File, Print, and then in here you can choose, there's mailing labels, envelopes. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's just for a one-off. So yeah, that's a good point. There's a lot of stuff that you should explore here just in the printer dialog. And all of this stuff is pulling it right here from your contacts list. That's why I have the little printer icon here in my integrations here. Because there's all of these contacts integrates with all of this stuff and even printing. And I think that was all I had for just the highlights of how to set things up. I'll have some references. There's a couple of good videos on how to do kind of deeper dive into this, how to work with mail merge and how to work with lists if you wanted to see that. When you do go to set up this for the first time, a lot of times people get scared of these messages. It wants access to it, and you do want to allow it. You want to say, okay, you want to click okay, because you do need to let Pages have access to your contacts. Remember how I just gave you that scary warning about being really, really selective and being careful about what you give access to. So maybe not, Facebook or I don't know, WhatsApp or something like that, but Pages is okay. So you can give that permission. And this is showing, I don't know if you guys remember a while ago, I gave a presentation on how to create wine labels. And in that presentation, same with this, I told you you can go to the Avery website. And if you have the label model number, you can type it in here and you can download a free template. And that's what I've done with this. So there is a template that you can download. And there it is there. And then you can use mail merge in here, or you can just copy, type one in and just copy and paste it on all the rest of them. Okay. Is there anything in particular that anybody wants to see demonstrated in the Mac Contacts app? I have it all set up and ready to go. Is there anything anybody wants to see in particular?
Melissa, my contacts mail has duplicates of individuals.
Good question. So there is something in here where you can look for duplicates, and Contacts will help you fix it. Now this one, merge doesn't really seem to help for anything, but let me see if I can find a duplicate in here. I think I have some. Or I might have actually fixed it.
Yeah, you might have merged them.
Yeah. I wonder if I can undo it. I had a couple of, let me go to all contacts. Let's see. Here's a couple of apples. So I can link cards. That's another thing too, is question. You said that you have duplicates. Do you have it set up where, like I do here, do you have multiple accounts set up or do you just have one account?
Just one account. I don't,
Okay.
I haven't even deliberately done lists myself.
Yeah.
The software has done that.
Yeah.
And I wondered if the duplicates had come in from the iPhone or iPad.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah, they probably have. But yeah, you can use contacts to go in and just merge the duplicates and it'll come up with a window. Let's see, I don't have any more duplicates anymore. It'll show you a window and it'll ask you to compare them and you'll just want to merge the two of them.
Okay,
But I would definitely check that out. You can do that right in the contacts app.
okay, thanks.
Here's two. But see, I have them in different accounts. See, like this one is in the Gmail on the Yahoo. And this one is in the regular account.
Okay.
Anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah, Melissa, can you, one of the things I do is I've always shown my clients how to back up your contacts, also how to restore them.
Yep.
If you make a mistake, and also how to when you back up as a complete archive, or also as individual.
Right. So that's up here. So I would select all contacts. So this will include this iCloud account, this AOL account, all of these different accounts. You can see they have little gray headers here. Those are the different accounts. And if I click File, Export, and I choose Contacts Archive, then you want to save it somewhere. And what I always recommend is, see, I have a folder here that's called Contacts. And so I was setting this up for the demonstration. So I have a bunch of people, I have pictures and stuff saved in here. But I would make a contacts folder and every so often make a backup and save it in there. You can also, you could do say for example, I only want my iCloud to be backed up because maybe I don't care about AOL or, maybe that's just an account that got imported and it's not something I really care about. I can just select the all iCloud account listing. And this is everybody that's in there. And I can go up to File, same place, and then Export, and then this time choose a V card. And what that will do is it will take all of those. So it's one, it always, picks the first person, I guess. I don't know exactly where it got the name from, but it shows that there's 61 others. So it's actually going to back up 61 cards in that one file.
There's actually an easier way to do that, Melissa.
Okay.
A cool thing, if you open up a new menu, a new
cool
folder with
Okay.
nothing in it.
So if I just go into my documents and do new folder, okay.
Okay, and then just drag your all iCloud to that folder.
Right. Yep.
That'll create an all iCloud. Oops, you have to open the folder.
I'm just going to name it.
Yeah.
So I open it and then I just take this and let me position the windows and I could just take this whole thing. Let's see. I think that's the trick. I'm glad you brought that up. You want to drag
there's another
out
one
to the
with
left, out to the left and then over.
Right. Also, another thing that's really nice, what I tell people to do besides that, create a new folder in there and call it individual contacts.
So inside of here.
Yeah, inside of there.
I don't have all of my tools. If I could spell.
Now do the same thing, but hold down the Option key when you're dragging it.
Okay, so I'm going to choose this. I'm going to hold down Option. I'm going to click out. Oh, this is going to be cool. I think I know what's going to, I knew it. Cool. That is cool. I like that.
So this way, if you make a mistake on one V card, you can restore that single V card just by double clicking it.
Yep. It's going to bring. So here, you asked a question about duplicates. So here's a good example. So I'm going to click Review Duplicate. And this is what I meant when it says it'll give you the opportunity to keep the old, keep the new one, keep both of them. Or if there was information that differed on either one of these, it would update it into one card. So I'm going to import it anyway. So now I'm going to have two, but say, for example, if I modify one of them, let's say I remove this and I remove this. I remove this. Now those cards are different. They contain different information. I think I can merge the two back into one card.
Hmm.
See, now look, it duplicated those. So then you have to do a little bit more cleanup, but it kind of, gets the job done mostly. And then you can just go in and delete one of those. Okay, I have this awesome demonstration database here. So does anybody else have any other questions? What would you like me to demonstrate from here? I also have lots of pictures. I think adding pictures is really fun. So here I made a group of TMUG people, except I changed the name. I changed it, not the names, but the addresses and the emails to protect the innocent. So I made you all animals. Because you're a bunch of animals. Does you like here the
I
TMUG
beg your
card?
pardon.
Here that has the TMUG logo in it. I think it's really fun to add the photos to the card, because then when someone calls, so for example, when Bob calls me, I'm going to have little Tony the Tiger show up on my screen. That's not actually true, but it's true for this demonstration. So that is my presentation. If anybody has any questions, let me know, or we could do a deeper dive into particular topics of it.
Thank you
Thank you
very
so
much,
much.
Melissa.
Thank you, Melissa. That was wonderful.
Okay, so I need to stop sharing. Stop sharing.
I have a question, which was Melissa was asking us to respond to her. And I am muted, or I was, and I was wondering, when you are doing a chat, are the mutes canceled, or did I rob myself of a voice because I had my mute on?
I didn't hear anything.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But did you have a question?
No.
Okay.
Melissa, I do.
Okay.
You brought up the business of having an additional email account, additional iCloud,
Yes,
Apple ID
correct.
to share contacts.
Yes.
If I wanted to share all of my contacts with my wife, could we? Is there any way of doing that?
You could, I mean, theoretically, you could have kind of like my husband and I do, his and hers and an ours. So you would have your Apple ID, she would have her Apple ID, and then you would create a third Apple ID. And then that's the one that you would each configure on each of your iPhones. And then that's the iCloud Apple ID account where you would start to save all of your contacts. So if you say you just wanted to share everything, because I know couples like that where they just want to share everything. They don't want individual accounts. That's probably the closest you can get to it. You should still each have your own Apple ID, because it can get messy if you share an Apple ID for everything else. But you can have a separate third, a tertiary Apple ID that you only use for the purposes of contacts. That's exactly what my husband and I do. Then that way he has his contacts, I have mine, but then we have all of our family members, all of our, like every time, let's say we get a new, I don't know, a new exterminator or something, or a new healthcare. That's another thing I'm glad you brought up that question, because that brings me to another thing I did want to share. So we have we still have our parents around. And so some of them are getting ill and needed a lot of care. So that ended up being a exercise in frustration and learning how to navigate our wonderful healthcare system. And very quickly, this person accumulated a lot of contacts for healthcare specialists and things like that. So we ended up doing is, just like I was advising you, we use that separate Apple ID, but then we just created a list called mom or dad or the name of the family member. And then every time there was a new specialist, every time there was a new person involved in the care of this individual, we put it in that list. And so that list for that person then syncs to both of our phones. So, if he goes to the doctor with this parent and they have an appointment and now they need to be referred to this new specialist, he gets the business card, he types in the information, and then I see it show up on my phone, but it's in that third shared Apple ID that we each have configured on our phones. So remember in that configuration slide, you have to set up your iPhone with your Apple ID. That's your primary, but then you can have a secondary Apple ID. And then in the switches, you just check everything off and leave the contacts on if that's going to be your only use for it. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
You should try it out. Let me know how it works out.
Okay, thank you. Great
Mhm.
idea.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Melissa. Are there any other questions for Melissa or for Chris? Then Bob Dahms, you're reading my mind. I was just going to ask you to put the feedback hot link back into the chat. And again, I would recommend that everybody click on that link now. And then after we conclude the meeting, go fill out that form.
And I remembered to save the chat.
You saved the chat already, and I'm
Yep.
going to save it too, because you came in at the end of the Ask Me Anything thing,
Mhm.
so you probably don't have the stuff
Oh,
from there.
right. Yeah, I don't have that stuff.
So, in that case, I need a volunteer who has access to their Hey S Lady. Come on, somebody volunteer.
I can do it.
All right.
Go for it, Kevin.
Ask the S Lady to pick a number between 1 and 30.
Hey Siri, pick a number between 1 and 30. Can you see that? The number is 5.
Number 5 is David Acklam. David, are you still with us? I think he bowed out, but he is the winner of the raffle.
Awesome.
Very good. And I'll put that in my note here so I don't forget it. And I'll have to send him a gift card. And again, it would be great if you were to fill out the feedback form. And if you have a particular accessibility topic that you'd like to see us go over, put that in the TMUG talk forum, and Chris will pick that up. And Chris, did you download the reduced size version of the accessibility show notes?
No, but I'll do that right now.
Because I'd like you to put that into TMUG talk as well as a show notes thing, so everybody can have it. Save chat, show and finder, and there it is. So in that case, I'm going to wish everybody a happy January, and it might be pretty cold here, and we had a wintry day for Tucson here, but just remember that we're not Buffalo or Green Bay or points north that are really, really having winter. So,
Or flooding.
Or flooding. Yeah, we had some flooding around here. In
Or
fact, I had to go
California is
through
having flooding.
I had to go through Pantano Wash today. And I was able to get through slowly. So have
It
a
lived
good
up to its
month.
name.
Come back and join us again next month for the Valentine's Day edition of the Tucson Macintosh User Group. And have a wonderful time and drive safely on your way home. Wouldn't want to have anybody have any accidents on their commute.
Right.
So good night, all.
Good night.
Good night.
Right.
Right.